Many men hate on me, I got Mercedes.
Fall 2025 is considered by many to be a weak season. But is that really true? Well, kinda. But there's still plenty of fun to be had with a bunch of anime. Whether it's One Punch Woman or One Frame Man, there's always something interesting to talk about. So drop your favorite shows in the comments, while I review the best ones from this season, in this wild Fall 2025 tier list.
Seibaa!
Spy Family is back, still keeping the series' quality. Or at least that's what I'd say if I didn't think this season is actually a bit better than the previous one. Because while season 2 focused more on Yor in something that felt like a side quest, this time the story takes small steps forward while better balancing the development of the main characters. On top of that, the show keeps its charm. I love Fiona and Frankie's interactions, I hate how the main couple still isn't and I also love the fact that Yuri barely showed up this time. Oh shit, S tier. Another anime that improved for me was Gachiakuta. Sure, not everything is perfect, as I already mentioned in another video, but it's nice to see the universe becoming more interesting, and the cast gaining nuance as it expands with some notable new members, like this Super Saiyan lady right here, who commands respect from anyone and helps push the anime into S tier. She's just not as badass as the protagonist of May I Ask One Final Thing, one of the most fun anime I've watched this year. Not because it has the best story or the deepest characters, but because sometimes all you need is to watch a hot girl beating up slavers and big chunks of bacon. It also helps that the rom-com side is generally funny and subversive sometimes, besides its world having some peculiar references.
Many men hate on me, I got Mercedes on me, I'm not tripping. I got
which lands the anime in A tier. A wild last boss appeared is an isekai with a surprisingly interesting plot and solid characters, but it raises one big question. Why? Why did the world have to be based on a video game? I know that's not exactly the case, but the floating UI screens and some totally random moments really break my immersion and make me agonize over the wasted potential here. Maybe the problem is just me and not the show, but in the end, all I can say is that the robot is the best character, and that I'd put the anime in B tier, but since I don't wanna be mean to this cutie, I'll leave it in A tier for now. Tougen Anki is one of the anime ever made. The story was written, the characters were voiced, and the art was drawn, with some extra care put into certain details. Jokes aside, I think you can have some fun if you ignore the poorly written story and focus on the passable action. But I'd like to pay tribute to some outstanding characters, especially the Giga Virgin who makes Mineta look like the best character in the world, and the villain whose foolproof plans are worthy of the Coyote himself. I also can't fail to mention the legendary references the show makes, whether to the late Overwatch 1, to Chainsaw Man, which we'll talk about in a sec, or Naruto, since we get an epic rivalry in the Naruto and Sasuke style. It's just a shame they don't show that bromance we all love. C tier. But if Tougen Anki fails at bromance, the Summer Hikaru Died thrives precisely because of it. The problem is that it's from the last season, so now we have to make do with its Yuri version, called This Monster Wants to Eat Me. Here we follow Hinako, a girl who lost her family and now wants to join that famous squad that already had a game and a pretty respectable movie. Lucky for her, she meets a mermaid who promises to fulfill that wish, because she's a monster who looks at humans and thinks,
everything's delicious.
I don't think this anime is as good as the summer one, but it still explored its characters well, putting more focus on romance, which I don't mind at all. Not to mention the nasty piano in the opening. For all that, the Summer Hinako Didn't Die lands in A tier. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Just kidding, I'm not doing that again. Star Wars Visions is back with Japanese studios, and it's always interesting to see the different visions they bring to the franchise. The episode quality can be inconsistent, but the animation is always pretty good, and I would like to highlight my favorites. Episode 1 with the best fight, Episode 4 with the best duo, Episode 5 featuring the cutest bear in the galaxy, Episode 9 with the most unique animation, and of course, I can't forget Episode 7, introducing the best couple in the franchise since The Empire Strikes Back. That had Luke and Leia. B tier. And if an anthology from a massive franchise is already interesting, Tatsuki Fujimoto 1726 shows that one centered on a single individual can be even more so, as it gives us a great peek into the mind of the author behind the fantastic Chainsaw Man and Look Back. I liked basically every episode, but my favorites are Chicken That Couldn't Run, The Vampire and Assassin Diaries, The Little Mermaid's Murderous Intent, and Look Back, budget version. But what matters most to me is seeing how these stories illustrate what seems most important to the author: sex, violence, romance, and cute girls. Is Fujimoto the last romantic or just a horny MF who writes really well? That question hangs in the air, but one thing is certain: this anime lands in A tier. Chainsaw Man, the movie, bizarre, is a slap in the face to anyone who expected it to be good, instead of pretty good. The movie has a tight, well-rounded arc, strong characters, great animation, and most importantly, Fujimoto's pillars: sex, violence, romance, and a cute girl. That's why this movie opens the tier Absolute Anime in today's video, even though it's not the only one that deserves it in my opinion. But we'll get there, because before that, I want you to tell me what show is Absolute Anime for you. And don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to help the channel reach 200 subscribers.
Nope, it says big ass, you dummy.
Chitose is in the Ramune bottle, suffered a lot from being delayed, and even before that, it didn't seem particularly beloved by the audience. Part of that might be due to the characters talking in a kinda pretentious way, like, "Can you guys have a normal conversation for once?" Even so, I have fun with a lot of their interactions. I like the animation, and I find it interesting to follow a different kind of protagonist, the popular guy. It actually makes you believe he could have that many romantic interests, though he still doesn't come close to the GOAT, right? I'd probably like the anime more if it had more episodes, but for now, it stays in B tier. Moving away from the fantasy of a harem and moving on to something with a touch of magic, The Fated Magical Princess, Who Made Me a Princess is a curious manhwa adaptation. Apparently, the story's beginning is supposed to create a sense of urgency and make you fear the protagonist's father, but with the cute visuals and some quirky scenes, I sometimes feel like I'm watching a comedy show. And the way your young heroine behaves like a little devil, maybe I should be more afraid of her than of her father. That is, if she didn't have those adorable chubby cheeks that helped the anime reach A tier. But even on her worst day, she couldn't be as crazy as the characters in Ranma 1/2. If some anime are satisfied with a love triangle, this one doesn't rest until its polygon turns into something with infinite sides. Seriously, aside from the protagonist's parents, pretty much everyone wants a piece of the main couple, which keeps generating insanely fun situations. But more impressive than that, just Ranma himself, because as a philosopher once said, sometimes it takes a real man to become best girl. S tier. Gnosia is a really interesting anime. At first glance, I thought it was one of those soulless projects made just to push the original game. If it had been called Gnosia the Animation, my red flags would have gone on full alert. But right in the first episode, I was greeted with intriguing suspense, great animation, and a cast so varied it eventually even includes a dolphin, plus an alien who couldn't even make it into the friend zone. There's really nothing left for the battle male. After a few episodes, the series loses some of its urgency and suspense to focus more on the characters and their interactions, something that ended up surprising me in a good way. It would have been better if the anime managed to balance all that and made the presentation feel a bit less gamey, but none of that bothered me too much, and I genuinely felt like buying the original game. Instead of a cash grab ad, this feels like a passion project that really entertained me, kinda like those legendary Crash Bandicoot commercials. That's why Gnosia stays in S tier here. But while I had no expectations for it, the situation with Dusk Beyond the End of the World was different. An original anime from a studio that usually does well in this area, promising sci-fi with solid romance and drama. In the first 2 episodes, everything was going well, with an unsettling sense of dread, a more serious tone, and the introduction of a devastated world ready to be explored. But by episode 2, the goofiness already kicks in, and after that, they set something up in one episode and then forget about it in the next one. The cartoony villains finally give Tougen Anki some competition. Instead of sci-fi with romance, it turns into generic romance with a bit of sci-fi. The characters go on speeches against infidelity, until the guy who cheated on his pregnant wife says,
I messed up. I acted like a kid.
And suddenly everyone decides to help him in the blink of an eye. I still think the anime has good moments and great ideas, but it sabotages itself by jumping straight into the most uninteresting part of the story. Basically, a worse Matrix 4. And lastly, I won't even get into the creators' apparent hyperfixation on incest, because not even a Yuri kiss is enough to save this anime from the disappointing C tier. Meanwhile, one anime that didn't disappoint me was To Your Eternity, which is back for its 3rd season. I hadn't watched it before, so I had to go on a super binge until I finally reached the end of the first season, so I still have quite a ways to go. Even so, it's been a pleasure following the journey of a magical egg, meeting all kinds of people, from a spider girl to a guy who never takes off his helmet, all the way to an Attack on Titan character. The only thing that bothers me a bit are the knockers, but that's not enough to knock the season out of S tier for now. Sanda, the ripped Santa Claus anime, is one of the craziest things this season, which isn't exactly a surprise, coming from the author of Beastars, with the studio behind Dan 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 and Devilman Crybaby handling the adaptation. Here we've got a kind of dystopian world, with a curious mix of coming-of-age themes, an overvaluation of youth, and the most badass Santa Claus since the rise of the Guardians. Not to mention this bomb girl. Was that supposed to be a Chainsaw Man reference? With so much weirdness, I don't think it's for everyone, but I liked it. It has the potential to reach S, but for now, it will have to settle for A tier. The final season of Boku no Hero Academia is finally here, to the despair of that part of the manga crowd that swears the ending is bad, because all I see is the emotional climax of a heroic story that's been almost 10 years in the making. Does that ring a bell?
Victoria. Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. Go beyond. Plus Ultra!
If you think it's all trash, that's fine, everyone has their own opinion. But for me, these last episodes are payoff after payoff, epic action scene after epic action scene, all stitched together by a strong sense of nostalgia. I've made fun of Boku no Hero a lot, and I'll keep doing it, but right now, I just want to enjoy the moment and appreciate this conclusion, which is why I'm putting the final season of Boku no Hero Academia in the highest tier of today's video, absolute D tier. One Punch Man 3 had everything it needed to be a historic event thanks to its insane fights, but what we got instead was a milestone that cemented the holy trinity of bad animation: PNG Lock, the 7 deadly frames, and One Frame Man. If you want, you can even throw in T-Bait and call it the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. That seems to be how most people feel about the third season, but honestly, I'm on the side that does see a lot of the problems. Some of them are impossible to ignore, but also thinks part of the backlash is overblown. I mean, there's a Gundam doing a Kamehameha here. How did this end up with a 4.5 on my anime list? To me, One Punch Man has always been more about comedy and characters than pure action, and since I haven't read the manga, I don't have the baggage to be that disappointed, so it lands in B tier for me. While those of you who wanted a cosmic being to be treated with respect will have to settle for Ben 10's Alien X instead. And that's the full tier list of the fall 2025 season. No more jokes this time. Do you agree or disagree with me? Let me know down in the comments, and with that said, I'm Sid from the Seibaa TV channel, and I'll see you in the next video.